But that brings us to actually segue here to our tips from the trenches segment. In this segment, we like to share some self-publishing and writing advice with you guys. Of course, all of us here are authors of different stripes, of course, but still authors. And so we've, been in the industry for some time. And of course, Emma, Kelly, and myself are also author support specialists. So we're, experts on everything BookFunnel. Who would like to start today and share their first tip? I
I
don't
can go.
usually like to put our guest on the spot. Okay, Kelly, go ahead.
I'll
Oh,
go. I'll go.
I'll go. Go for it.
I don't. You guys can fight over it. You can
All
fight over it.
yours, Kelly.
Okay. Well, I was thinking the other day about, shared worlds and anthologies and that sort of thing, which is, something a lot of authors use BookFunnel for, and especially with reader magnets in, say, an anthology or a shared world. One of my recommendations, because we do sometimes see authors come through and they have one list and then they want to share that like an email collection page, and they want to share it with everybody that's in the anthology. So there's like 20 people. If you sign up for the anthology one time, you get on 20 people's lists. And one thing we want to make, this is not a really great idea. You should not be doing it that way. Simply because there are consumer protection laws and privacy laws. And when a reader signs up for a newsletter, especially in certain countries, but most countries do have this, you need to actually have consent for every single list that they are signing up for. So you cannot just collect one email collection landing page and then share it with everybody that's in the collection. You want to make sure that that reader has consented every single list that they're in. And I know that kind of is a bummer because, you give the anthology away and everybody gets to benefit, and that's wonderful. So I recommend that you create, instead of one book, you create an anthology bundle page. And each short story that your readers can click on is an email collection page for that author. So if it's my book, my little short story or whatever that goes along with the anthology, they want to read it, they sign up for my newsletter and they're consenting to be on my newsletter. That way everybody gets a list that is actually someone who consented to be there.
Yeah.
And you don't have, if you imagine like the reader themselves, I signed up for one email collection page to get one book, and suddenly I'm flooded with 20 emails that are welcoming me to their sequence. And it's understandable that that's what you're hoping for. The only other way that you can do it besides doing like a bundle page and getting consent with email collection pages would be to have one email, like a publishing company or something like that. They are signing up for the publishing company's page. And then as a group, you can email them and say, join so-and-so's page, join so-and-so's page. Look at these books from so-and-so. But you can't just add them all to 20 lists. You shouldn't do that. So that's my tip.
No,
We see it come through on occasion, and there's a lot of times that authors are like, but we put in there, you're signing up for everybody's, and it's like, that's not explicit consent. You need to make sure it's every list.
Yes. Very important to know that, and a good tip. And to piggyback on that one, like if you didn't know that's a thing you could do, you can do it. You can do it as an anthology if you want to work with other authors as well. So, but if you do it, make sure you do it the way that Kelly described. Absolutely, that's a good tip. All right, Donovan, if you want to share yours, you were chomping at the bit there.
Yeah. So I think from the bookstore perspective, we bookstore owners do want to see your physical books being distributed through Ingram Spark. We get a better margin on our book sales than if you go through a third party aggregator or KDP expanded distribution or anything like that. Bookstores, it depends on which ones you go to, sometimes it'll be a deal breaker if you're not available on Ingram. But if you are directly available through Ingram Spark, you can give a full retail discount so that we have our wiggle room to slap on discounts and do more stuff to highlight your book. I do team ups with authors, and we have 10 to 25% discounts on the book. So if we don't have that margin in there, then we won't promote it as much as we would otherwise.
Right. Makes sense. Is there something particular about just Ingram Spark's pricing model or so forth that makes it
Ingram,
like what's
Ingram Spark, if you're set up on there, it goes into Ingram's catalog where
right?
bookstores are buying all their stuff off of Ingram's backend.
Right.
So then we get the full retail discount that way.
Gotcha.
So yeah, if you go through either Draft to Digital or KDP, then there's a extra margin that's included for them funneling the books into there. And yeah, if you Ingram Spark though, that's a direct line straight into Ingram's bookstore catalog.
Right. Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay, cool. And that's something that this is why we have you on the podcast because
Yeah.
we're gonna be talking about stuff today that we don't typically. A lot of our conversations are focused on like ebook distribution and audiobook distribution, and like yeah, brick and mortar is a different game, and those margins matter because, like you said, when you have like physical shelf space, and in a little bit here, hopefully you can maybe show us some of that with a little
Yeah.
tour. But when you have like physical shelf space and you have like physical products that you have to move, yeah, sometimes you've got to slap a discount on there to freshen up the shelves a little bit and get things moving. So that's something that not a lot of authors might have considered. That's a good point. That's a good point. All right, Emma, do you got yours ready to go?
I do, and it's kind of like batching content too, but for promos and marketing. Because if you're like me, you like to get in your writing cave, and when you're in your writing cave for a month or two, you're not thinking about promotion, and people start emailing you, and you be like, set up 12 in advance, enroll your book in each one, and then go to your newsletter provider and pre-schedule all of those newsletters. Pre-schedule a year's worth. And every time you join a promo, just real quick, go throw it in. And maybe take 2 days to do this. Like 2 days you're focused on just every time you join a promo, put it in. And just schedule it out for the whole year. And if you have stuff to add in throughout the year, you can go in and do that. But if you forget or you're busy, it's already going to go out, so you're good. You're covered.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
for me. That's the tip for
Right.
me.
No, it's a good one. And I know myself doing my promos, I have my emails scheduled out for the rest of the year. That's one thing I sat down and I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this year and I'm going to get that done so that I don't have to. And it's all pointed to a promo page. So I literally don't have to go in and edit those emails at all because they're pointing to one link and I just edit that end link. And so I just change that every week whenever I need to. And then we're talking about BookFunnel promos, by the way, to clarify for
Yes.
anybody wondering, right?
Yes.
Authors joining
Yes.
BookFunnel promos, that sort of
BookFunnel,
thing.
yes.
And you're sharing those with your newsletter because that's part of the deal. And it's just easier if you're going to do that anyway. Yeah, have a set day of the week or day of the month where you send those emails out with your promos and everything. And doing them in advance, it's helped me. So yeah. Listen to Emma. It's good
Especially
advice.
if you know that you're one of those people you just can't tear yourself away, even if you're telling yourself, it'll just take 15 minutes. No, don't. Good. Yeah, just do it in advance.
I think I schedule
Yeah.
about 80 Facebook posts per month in a 3-hour block and just
Yeah.
get them all set up,
Yeah.
ready to go for the month.
Right.
I hate that 3-hour block, but
Sure.
then I don't have to deal with it the rest of the time.
Right.
Avoid
exactly.
it like the plague. It's the
Yeah.
plague.
Exactly. I think it's funny. Like that's the thing. Is like the trick to getting some of that stuff done is just to batch it all. And
Yeah.
what do they call it? Like swallow the frog or something like that? Or what's
Yeah.
the phrase? You know.
Something like that. Like first thing in the morning, you
Yes,
Swallow
you do
the
the
frog,
thing that
yeah.
you don't want to do, but I think part of it is also like you just get it done,
Yeah.
right? Maybe the opposite
And
of
if
that
you're
would be like,
hosting your promo, then you can control the timing. Because if you're steady trying
Yeah.
to join 12 months worth of promo, it's not going to be as easy as if you're
Yeah.
just scheduling your own promos and then,
yeah, absolutely. Oh, that's good. That's good advice. It's good advice, and it applies to things outside of promos too. So like Donovan said, Facebook posts or any other social media platform where you can actually schedule things out. I know some of them don't let you, which is kind of annoying, but
And you can even schedule your Facebook posts if you're going to do a boosted post for the promo. You can pre-schedule those so connect like
Yeah.
a boosted Facebook post to each promo and it just fires
Yeah, it's-
off. I mean, if you take a good week, you can get a good amount of. Again,
Right.
I'm talking to myself. I'm trying to convince myself to take my advice.
Right. Right. All right. So my tip for this week is going to be around dictation again, because this is something I've been exploring. It's kind of new for me because I'm going to be trying to write with dictation. However, I had the privilege, the honor to sit down for a recording of our previous episode of the podcast with Kevin J. Anderson. And he also does dictation, but he has it transcribed after the fact. And I know that there's some other authors that do this, where they record the audio and then have it just transcribed afterwards. So it's not exactly like speech to text directly, dictation. It is dictation to record an audio file, and then from there they have it transcribed. So I'm like, okay, I've heard about this. Like, I gotta see, like, what's the deal? Most of the time, people are using just a voice recorder. So I went on Amazon and I found this guy. This thing was $50. So price-wise, just in the ballpark for me, somebody wanting to try it out. It's very slim, sleek. I'll turn the screen on here so you can, there we go. You can see it's very simple navigation. You just press a button and it records audio. It does have a built-in transcription feature, but it sucks. So don't use that. But I might put a link in the show notes to this just so you can check it out. But I've tested it out and just not having, like, I'm not dictating words onto the page. So I can't even see the page. It's all in my mind. And it's a bit of an adjustment. And maybe that's something I can talk about in the future too. But at the same time, it's a little freeing because since the words aren't right there in front of me, I'm also not like getting distracted by that the dictation screwed up that one word. I've got to fix that right now while it's right here in front of me. Like I'm just able to kind of immerse myself in whatever it is that I am dictating and focus on that and kind of take my time with it too. So I think for people who are looking at dictation, I think it's worth a try. So like I said, I'll put a link to this in the show notes. I'll try to remember to also put it in the segment episode of this that gets uploaded separately so that you can check this out. Like I said, it was about $50. I think I might have gotten it while it was on a discount. So it might be a little bit more depending on when you find it. It's very simple. I've used it so far, like when I'm driving. I'm in my car because instead of like holding my phone and dictating into my phone, which is easily a distraction because just by holding it up, I now see notifications on my phone. And if I'm driving, I'm like, oh, who texted me? And, instead, there's nothing else on this device. It doesn't give me notifications. I just hold it and I can record. I could even set it down and the microphone is strong enough that I could just set it down and I could just dictate while I'm driving. And I talk to myself when I'm driving anyway, so I might as well be dictating and writing a book while I'm doing it.
So how do you get it then if the transcription software that it has, how are you transferring it like into Scrivener or whatever you have?
Yes. So you have to then take that audio file. It generates an AAC file. And then have those transcribed. Usually what it means is you're probably gonna have to pay for some sort of service. I'm looking at a few. I've done a little bit of investigating. Right now, TurboScribe is the one that looks the most promising because they have a very straightforward pricing. It's like kind of like unlimited minutes of transcription with their basic plan. And even then, you can transcribe up to 3 files per day for free. So depending on how much you were doing, you might not even necessarily have to, use one of their paid plans. And so you just upload the files and it transcribes them, and it did an awesome job. The transcription was very high quality, very accurate. And I'm writing fiction, so I'm using made up words, and it got those pretty close as well. So yeah, it did a pretty good job, and I think that's right. I was looking at a few other options.
Will it accept an MP3 or just an AAC?
Yeah. No, it does MP3 and WAV files as well. So any one of those, and I'll put that in the show notes as well because you're right. That's a good question. But the transcription feature on here is just totally inaccurate. It's probably an outdated transcription software or something is my guess. It's just not very accurate at all, which is fine. Like if it worked, it'd be great because it would give you a TXT file that you could also use. But since transcribing that audio is just like so fast anyway and easy, it does have an SD card. So you probably want to get, an SD card reader, that sort of thing. So you can eject it and get the files on your computer easily. But it works. So, and then
I might have to try that.
You can the other little
once
thing.
You get to those higher word count days, you really do have to transition to a recorder because you're going to find that the word processing program just can't keep up. And
yeah.
So I like to dictate just right into Scrivener on my Mac. So it's just you hit the control button twice and it does that. But I found that it only goes for like 30 seconds. So I have to keep going back and coming back to it and being like, did it shut off? Or I hear it in my headphone and it beeps and I'm like, oh, whoops. And I have to go back and make sure.
That might be a system setting that you can change because I know I've changed it on my computer where the dictation just stays open until I close it.
Oh, I might
that
look
may be
into
a system
that
setting that you can change. Maybe not in Scrivener itself. It might be like your Mac settings and that sort of thing. But yeah, this is handy. And TurboScribe, I think you can upload a clip of up to 50 minutes, 50 minutes. So you can sit there and you can talk to yourself for almost an hour, and that's not a problem to transcribe after the fact. So, and I was very impressed too, not with myself, but like with what impressed me about just the process of doing it was that even just recording for like 5 minutes, and maybe I wasn't enough to really get in the flow state, but to just test it out, you just talk a lot faster than you write.
Yes.
And
Yes.
getting more words in a shorter amount of time. Like, I don't know how to communicate, how I would explain this to an illustrator, because I think this, I don't know that I don't know. There's no way to cheat that. It's like you got to 100% do it yourself. But the process of typing is so much slower than your brain in terms of how fast your brain can make the words. Speaking is just much faster. In fact, sometimes my mouth is faster than my brain. So you just get more words that way in a shorter amount of time. And there's aspects of like dialogue that maybe feel more natural, that sort of thing. Anyway, I don't want to drag this on too long, but yeah, try out voice recorders.
I'm going to try that out again this week. Yeah. I couldn't last time I tried it because I was still in the phase where I had to see the words, but I think I'm going to go ahead because I told Chris I want to start getting regular 5K days again, but that might be what I need.
And I've got some ideas. I'm exploring it some more, so I've got some ideas of like how to get into your natural storytelling voice.
Yeah.
Because for me, it would work really well for nonfiction. Like, I've used this for BookFunnel webinars already, and I'll just record myself like giving the webinar, and then I'll take that and make notes from the transcription, and then actually use that in my webinars that I do. And that comes really natural for me.
They have 3
but
free
doing it for fiction
transcripts
is different.
daily. Yeah.
Yep.
This is a good rec. So, I mean, if people who are on a budget, Okay.
Right.
This is an excellent rec, Jack.
Yeah, hey, absolutely.
I'm about to activate.
I'm good for one of those every once in a while, is what I like to say. All right, so let's not drag this out too long. Tips from the trenches. Goodbye. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you for watching. Check out these other videos from BookFunnel, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel.